Alright everyone, it's time to talk about the British legacy media and their coverage of Brexit, because right now what they're doing is they're attempting to insinuate Russian involvement for Brexit. They're doing this preemptively prior to the election, like The Guardian here putting out a piece, if there's going to be Russian interference in the election, we need to know beforehand, basically nip it in the bud. The thing is, all of these fears about Russian influence into elections, whether it's Brexit, some of the other European elections, certainly in France they brought up the specter of that when Macron was elected, or here in the United States, are all based on lies. That is, that the core story that led to all of the fear-mongering, that led to the sort of burning times that we're currently in digitally, is prefaced on bullshit. There was never any substantial Russian involvement at the state level in the US election. So why would you speculate that level of involvement for Brexit? And by the way, if I'm Vladimir Putin, why do I want to elect somebody like Trump who then promptly endangers my capabilities by going after one of my big trading partners, which is China, trying to put a noose around the Chinese economy's neck? Why do I want to support Brexit when Brexit would make Europe stronger in the long run by allowing the restructuring of the UK's economy in a sovereign sense so that it can be a fully functioning entity? If I'm Putin, I might be worried about the UK getting imperialistic plans because the UK is still a major economy and a major military player in the world. I probably would rather them be a vassal of the EU. By the way, it's a very Soviet-style system anyway. That's basically what the European Union is. It's the new USSR after a fashion. There's less bread lines, certainly. There's more overall collective wealth, but the basic structure is the same. The problem is the EU is slowly morphing into a more authoritarian system. It's sort of like an inverted USSR. The USSR starts off under Stalinism in some of these systems, very authoritarian. Attempts are made to kind of reform that and clean up the image a little bit over time. Nikita Khrushchev and so forth. Over time, there's more liberalism, more opening up to world trade, which arguably could be a problem at times for some countries. But it goes in the other direction. Of course, free speech was never really a thing. It's still very 1984-ish, even as of 1984. We've got to understand, though, something here. If there was no Russian involvement in the U.S. election in 2016, which is what was found, there was no substantial influence. It certainly couldn't flip an election. A few Russian troll farms putting out a Facebook ad didn't change anything. A few memes did not overthrow the U.S. government. Trump won fair and square in a proper election that every Democrat before the election, when they expected him to lose, said would be fair, above board, couldn't be influenced, couldn't be interfered with. Ironclad, you're a conspiracy theorist if you believe that. Since that night, when Trump won, we've heard nothing but the opposite, which is that the election was rigged, the election was influenced, it's improper, he's not legitimate. All of these bullshit lies that we get from the legacy media and from the social justice warrior crowd. Since, though, that claim is false, there shouldn't be any legitimate reason for Red Scare-style titles, literal propaganda, to be deployed in the UK prior to Brexit. The idea that Vladimir Putin even really cares about the issue, I think, is a little bit ludicrous. Why would he care? And how would he possibly have the expendable income, the expendable manpower and resources to do anything meaningful in an election? Unless you use, literally, the biggest vulnerability of any Western election system is the voting machines that keep being used. Electronic voting machines are a terrible idea and should be banned in all Western nations. It should be paper ballot, hand counted only. Yes, believe it or not, it is possible to use such a system even in densely populated, urbanized countries. It's used all over the United States. My home state of Vermont, everything's done that way. We still use paper ballots. That's fine. It doesn't matter whether it's a city like Burlington or whether it's a village of 20 people. It's perfectly possible, and it's a small price to pay. That little extra effort, that little extra time is a tiny price to pay for having actual election security. You can't hack a paper ballot. Sure, you can steal paper ballots. You can print up a bunch of fake ballots or something. That's a lot harder to do, physically speaking, than sticking a USB drive into a machine for 10 seconds and deploying a virus or managing to hack the Wi-Fi, so to speak. The security systems around the voting machines have been proven to be very low, totally improper, totally incommensurate with a properly functioning representative system of government. Why don't we focus on the real problem, potentially, of actual election interference by some hacker in the future? It'd be really funny. Imagine that a couple teenagers that just happen to be whiz kids at computers end up endangering the US election system in the future just as a joke, just for their jollies. They decide to get Ron Paul voted in, and mysteriously, because of course there's no way to go back on the election results once they're certified, maybe something like that could actually happen. But Vladimir Putin can't. He's over there in Russia. What are the Russians doing, and why would they care? Well, there was never any hacking or any influence in the 2016 election, so why am I seeing titles? It literally looks like the McCarthy era. Oh, Russia's going to involve themselves in our government. Spooky. Even if they did, why would I care? Again, if you got a two-party system here, or you've got a multi-party system like there, the question is, are you having Brexit or not? I don't understand why Putin would even mind. UK is in. It's a vassal. Its economy is part of the EU. UK is out. It's sort of semi-separate anyway right now. It's in that gray area. It's separate. It's sovereign. Both of them pose challenges. What, does he have like a smoky cigar-filled table of former KGB members got together one night and said, we need a Brexit. We need the UK's people to have sovereignty. I just really doubt that. That's about all. Peace out.